Sandy Moore, a transgender activist, confidently claimed during a Dr. Phil episode that at 3, 4, 5, they know who they are in referencing to children understanding of their gender identity. Rob, if you can pull up this video, provoking laughter from the audience. When pressed about the age at which children supposedly understand their identity, Moore reiterated, and I'll let you watch the clip. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, if children know who they are, which they do, and their parents seek out the information to help them be happy in their skin, who are you to block them from doing that?
I think the important question was if children know who they are.
Children do know who they are.
At what age?
At 3, 4, 5, they know who they are when they're switching and swirling. They know who they are. I wish that when I started my transition, I was able to transition earlier in life because that helps you be more feminine or more masculine by using the blockers. You know, that helps people blend in society more.
I say something about the idea that kids know who they are. I think the very existence of detransitioners shows that that's not true. Because these kids arrived at the clinic confident, 100% convinced that they knew who they were. Their parents were 100% convinced, apparently because they gave consent, that these treatments are correct. And yet, these kids, very shortly after they got double mastectomies or subjected their bodies to irreversible, often sterilizing treatments, and by the way, if you do the full course of medical transition, even just hormonal, it is guaranteed chemical castration for the rest of your life. And these kids went into that office knowing who they are, and yet very quickly after that regretted it. And no less important, the doctors who saw them were convinced that these kids know who they are, and they got it
But
wrong.
how often does that happen?
Okay, so great question.
Now he sounds like a man.
In order to have a good, reliable picture of the rates of detransition, we're going to have to wait at least another decade, probably 2. That's, by the way, what clinicians in Europe are saying now, because regret can take a long time to manifest. If you got your breasts amputated at the age of 15, the full consequences of that may not be apparent to you until you're in your mid-30s and can't breastfeed. But current research does show, I mean, we have one research paper from 2021 that showed a 30% discontinuation rate of hormones. And, that rate is likely to go up and up and up because the protocol being used at these clinics is kids know who they are. There's no safeguarding, there's no second guessing of a kid's stated identity. And the fewer safeguards we have, the less questioning that we do of these kids' motives and mindset, the higher the rate of regret and detransition and medical harm is gonna be.
I just want to say one thing. This is why we need freedom of speech in this country. Because let these people talk and tell you what they feel. You know, someone famous said, let the boy watch. Yeah. Let these people talk. Because the more they talk, the deeper the foot ends up in their mouth, and the more that their ridiculous ideology is exposed, the more that their absurdity and radicalism is highlighted, whether it's 3-year-olds know exactly who they are, or Americans shouting death to America, or whether people advocating that boys can certainly be girls. Let them talk.
I think I go a little bit deeper. So for a grown man to be sitting there dressed like that, dressed as, with a wig, and pushing a child to be able to make that decision, that's borderline pedophile crap. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're at that age, a grown man, saying a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old can make their own decision to chop off their genitalia, then guess what? Especially in the courts, then that kid, who's to say that kid can't say who they want to have sex with? Hey, you know what? I want to have sex with this grown man, Dad. I'm sorry, I already transitioned. Yeah. I'm a woman. That gives you carte blanche. That is some disgusting shit coming out of that. And I think that dude, how are we even having a conversation that person is saying, yeah, a 3-year-old knows exactly who they are. I thought I was Superman for 10 years when I was a kid.
And Tom, this is all you, but I'm going to say you can be 16 to drive a car, you have to be 18 to vote, 21 to drink, you can be whatever age, chop it off.
3 years old. 3 years old, he's saying.
I think there's two things here. We can probably move on. The first thing is that guy is also making a case to validate his own personhood and existence and his choice. Yep. He's not just talking about lobbying for something for these kids. He is validating choices that he made to make himself feel okay and safe. Remember when Bill Maher, and this is something Bill Maher said, where he gave a very eloquent, data-driven summation of what was happening with the percent of people in each generation identified as gay or trans. And he said, come on, with kids, it's phases. It's all phases. When I was 7, I think he said, I wanted to be a pirate. And I'm glad my parents didn't send me out to have a peg leg and an eye removed. So I think there's some wisdom there that, coming from Bill Maher, that a lot of people were talking about. It's like kids have phases.
But Tommy, don't you find it? Don't you go the underlying message? But it's not the gay. I hate when people are like, "Oh, you hate gay." Shut up with that nonsense. This transgender movement, they're obsessed with the kids. Get to the kids, chop them up, because those kids, if they can make that decision, Tom, then guess what? They want to hook up with you. It's whatever. It's like, hey. He's old enough to make that decision, then why can't I have sex with him?
Well, I think there's like 3 issues in the middle of that. I'm just going back and looking at this guy and saying, look, he's validating himself, and that's what's going on here. And you've got Dr. Phil. He just went off on this later, and I thought Dr. Phil did a great job handling it. He was very patient, let everybody made their point on the show, and then went off. So thank you.
One thing about Dr. Phil. You noticing Dr. Phil in the last 6, 12 months, what he's been doing?
Yeah, I love it.
Getting more and more vocal. And remember who gave him the opportunity? Oprah. And Oprah may be sitting there saying, this guy's kind of talking about some stuff that I'm not fully aligned.
Whoopsie.
You know what I'm saying?
I think what you're saying, PBD, is you want to catch Dr. Phil outside.
Yeah.
Catch him out. How about that?
How about that, Dr. Phil?
Yeah. Download Monect. Ask questions of people. So many times people DM others on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You never hear anything back. The reason for it is because the other influencer and expert values their time. On Monect, you get to pay to get people to respond back to you. One of the things we put up on Monect app, which I love, you can go to any expert and see how quickly they respond, what percentage of the time, and you'll see some of the guys will be 100% within 1 day. Some of the people will be 70%, 3 days. On Monect, on average, 85% of the time, you get a response back from people because you're paying for them. And we just announced a Monect contest to come to South Florida and have dinner with us at the legendary Casa D'Angelo restaurant. On the house, we'll pay for it. And then afterwards, we'll go to our cigar lounge, have a bunch of cigars, conversations, poker, domino, and all the Monectors get to collaborate together. And simultaneously, we have a contest that we're running. Here's a contest. Lightweight experts, middleweight experts, heavyweight experts. You got a home team. Lightweight is anybody that's never downloaded the app before and they've never done a Monect before. Middleweight is anybody between 1 to 50. Heavyweight's going to be the ones that have done 51 plus Monects. We already listed out some of the names right now. Dustin, Calvin, and G, Dennis Panev, Ben Pappas, Chris Como. Home team, it's going to be us competing. Then new users. You're not an expert. You just have a lot of questions. Whoever asks the most questions, new signups versus those who are existing users. If you've never used it, you're competing in this category. If you have used it, you're competing in the other category. And every day this Leaders Bulletin updates. The top 3 get invited to come to Florida. You pay your flight, you pay your hotel. We take you out to dinner at Casa. Then we go to the cigar lounge together and spend a few hours to get a number 1 in each category. We'll sit at the head table with me, but top 3 will be invited. And we will most likely do a raffle for each category that will pull somebody out. And again, you'll be with myself, Adam, Vinny, Tom, our crew, and we'll show you around all the other things that we're doing as well. Cannot wait to see you guys there. That QR code on the top right shows the Leaders Bulletin on every day. It'll be updated to see where you rank. If you can go on the Leaders Bulletin, Rob, so people can see it. Every day you'll have an update on Monect's Leaders Bulletin to see who you're competing with, at what level. Again, go to the other QR code for them to download the app so they can get started. Go on Apple, Droid, download the app Monect. Start Monecting today, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have dinner together. This contest starts today. April 16th, ends May 31st, and the dinner will be a date we'll send to the people that qualify in June. So looking forward to seeing you guys compete for this with Monect.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.